Hello, my friends. It is Saturday morning, and we are 6 weeks out from my first market. And I am feeling quite stressed, a little overwhelmed, and really far behind. Part of me feels like 6 weeks is an adequate time to do some of the things I need to do. And then part of me feels like there's not enough time and I don't have enough things made. I'm not fully prepared. There's so much left to do, all that stuff. So my mind's been going a little bit crazy with all of those things, but I guess that's probably normal being that it's my first market. I haven't experienced this yet. So, there's so many unknowns and things that I just keep pouring over in my head. This week was Creep Week, which essentially was me making some Plague Doctors and some Five Nights at Freddy's characters. I'll show you those guys in a little bit, but first I wanted to talk a little bit about packaging for the market. Now, when it comes to packaging my orders from Etsy, we've gone over that already. I wanted to have really nice boxes. I got the custom tape. I wanted to have, the tissue paper, have this whole experience for the customer. And it's really no different when it comes to a market. It's just a much quicker kind of interaction. There's no kind of surprise of what's inside because you looked at a picture online and then you finally received it in person. This is, you looked at it, you probably touched it and squished it and all that good stuff. And now I'm putting it in a box, a bag, whatever it may be. But I did want that packaging to be at least a little something special. It's kind of funny because I don't feel like a lot of folks, at least the ones that I watch on YouTube when I watch their markets, really show kind of what they've put out with the customer. There's one YouTuber in particular that I watch called Vivian the Strawberry. She does all kinds of different crafty goods as well as crochet, but she's one of the only ones that I've really seen do a big focus on what her packaging is like. And at first I was really, really influenced by her. She does these little things where she'll put a small plushie in a little cupcake box with a string. So it's got it looks like a little carrying case. People can see you walking around with it. And her whole thought was that, if people can see the product in the packaging and see someone else walking around with it, they might look at that and go, ooh, I want to get that too. Where did you get it? And head over to her booth. I have seen other YouTubers do certain things like they'll say, oh, I'm including some freebies, or do you want a sticker, or that kind of stuff. But I don't often see exactly what they've packaged their goods in. There are a couple of folks where you catch a glimpse because they film themselves at markets and they've put into, paper bags, or there's some that I've seen that use kind of cupcake boxes with the windows and things like that. And I knew that, there would be a certain expense to that, but I wanted to do a little bit of research, and I did that in two different ways. The first way is I went on Amazon and I just started pouring through all different types, just so I could get a gauge and feel of what kind of my minimum and maximum expense could be. Second bit of research that I did is I went to markets, and I wanted to go to markets for multiple reasons. Obviously, I like going to markets, but I also wanted to go to markets to see, is it a market I might want to do? And also to specifically look for the packaging. I looked at what vendors package their stuff in, what kind of bags they use. I looked at, the differences between buying something that's small and less expensive versus buying something that's large. And I looked at kind of what my, I'm trying to think of how to describe it, but what my normal activity would be. So if I'm just at a market and I'm walking around, am I paying attention to what people have bought? Am I looking at, what they're carrying around? Am I really going to myself, ooh, that looks neat. I've got to go check out that booth. Or, am I not even paying attention to it at all? And I found oftentimes I was much more focused on looking at the different booths than I was paying attention at all to what people were carrying around. Now, if there was a kid walking around with some kind of giant stuffed animal or something that was really unique or stood out, then yeah, naturally you kind of look over at that. But when it comes to the regular shoppers, I didn't pay attention to what kind of bag they had. I didn't pay attention to what they might have purchased when they stopped at a booth. It's really, I think, not something that a lot of people do. So that was weighing in on my decision making as well. And I decided that I want to do something that I like. I want to do something that I'm happy with, that I'm putting out there. And one of the thoughts that I had is I wanted it to be something that's either recyclable or reusable. I definitely knew I didn't want to do plastic bags, which I've already said. But let's go through some of the options that I explored, and I'll let you know what the pricing was and what I ended up settling on and how much that's going to cost. And I do want to jump in with a quick caveat. The reason I looked at Amazon is because to me, that feels like the most reasonable quantities. Yes, you could get them for way cheaper if you buy 1,000 bags or 10,000 bags or something like that in huge bulk, pricing. But I don't have a place to store all of that stuff. I don't want to store all of that stuff. And I don't anticipate this being something where I need things by the hundreds. So I really wanted to kind of just do something that I felt like my research was more applicable to the average small business. So that is why I looked at Amazon for a lot of this pricing. So the first thing I started with was your typical plastic and paper bags. I knew I didn't want to do the plastic grocery bags, but I wanted to see what the cost was. And on average, on Amazon, you can get them anywhere from like 3 cents to 10 cents a bag on the high end if you wanted a color bag or something like that. Paper bags with a nice little handle on average were about 18 cents each. And I had considered doing just your average brown paper bag, something with a handle either cut out or the little paper handles that they have. And maybe doing some kind of sticker on the outside or something to brand it, maybe a stamp or something like that. So that was definitely something that was in the running for me as far as what I might want to put out there. The other thing I looked at were the cupcake boxes because I thought they were really cute. And I like how, it's like adopt a pet and you have the little plushie in there and you can see them through the window and all that good stuff. So I looked into the smaller ones and the kind of, I don't know if I'd call them larger, but I think they hold like 2 to 4 cupcakes in them, to see what the pricing on something like that would be. And those ranged from like 30 cents to like 45 cents if you wanted to have like black ones versus the brown typical cardboard, or if you wanted it in white. And they even had some in like rainbow colors and things like that. The thing about those is that I knew that I kind of wanted something consistent so that if you bought something small, it looked at least similar to the packaging that you were going to get if you bought something really big. And the cupcake boxes only come so large. There is like a giant takeout. I guess it's made for like a cake or something where it's got the window and the handles like that. But those went from anywhere from like 75 cents to over $1 and change each. And I was like, I think to myself, what would someone do with that when they got home? And as a matter of fact, when I was at that last market and I actually purchased that 3D printed dragon egg with the dragon inside that was Christmas themed, they packaged it in one of those little black cupcake boxes. So I got kind of excited. I brought that home. I put some of my plushies in it. I wanted to see like, would it hold a loaf cat? Would it hold 2 toads? Like what kind of things would go inside of it? And I also thought about like, how did I feel when I was carrying that around at the market, having purchased it? And honestly, I didn't care. It was cute. It was nice, but if I wasn't trying to see how it would fit my products at home, I would have just stuck it in the recycling bin. So I was really getting torn on what to do because I kind of thought I was settled into these cupcake boxes and having something with a visibility of my product and all this stuff. And again, I was talking it over with Mr. Skane and I'm like, I don't know what to do here because I really want it to be something that doesn't just go in the garbage, doesn't just go in the recycling bin, but also like, not plastics and putting plastics out there. And he said, what about a reusable shopping bag? And I thought, I think I looked at those before and they were $1 or more each. So it's probably not something that's very feasible. I was looking at printed bags. So like with the company logo and stuff like that. I had never thought to just look for a plain, reusable shopping bag to see what that kind of pricing was. And I thought that was a brilliant idea. And that just felt so perfect to me because the person can use it again or they can gift it if it's a nice enough bag. So I jumped into Amazon and started exploring what some of my options would be. And I kid you not, like the first thing that came up just called to me. It was the most perfect reusable bag. I wasn't sure what the cost was at first, but I knew I had to get it. And it actually was not bad as far as cost goes. And let me show you. Look at the iridescent deliciousness of this bag. And it's got these little handles. It's kind of got a waterproof finish. I was so happy with this. So this bag is about 5 inches deep here. It's 8 inches wide and 10 inches tall. And Amazon sells these in a pack of 80 for $38.49, which is 48 cents per bag. And as a matter of fact, I actually did not pay that much. I bought these when Amazon Prime Day was happening. And also, another quick tip, if you're a small business and you have Amazon Prime for your personal, you can get a business Prime account for free. I think I mentioned this on one of my videos before, but you can buy in larger quantities and it'll discount as you're purchasing. I don't know if it's everything, but like if I wanted to buy multiple packs of this, it would have made them even cheaper than the Amazon Prime Day deal that I was getting. I didn't do that, but I ended up getting these for, I want to say it was around 42 cents or something like that each, but I just wanted to give you the pricing of what's out there as the standard cost. So for 50 cents or less, a reusable, iridescent, gorgeous grocery bag or gift bag. However, but I could totally see, like if I purchased something in this, I would not get rid of it when I got home. I would regift this. Somebody's birthday, somebody's Christmas, whatever it may be. I'm definitely not getting rid of this. But when I found them, I also knew that that bag is too large for like if someone just buys a couple of minis. I also knew that if someone did buy one of the larger items, it would not fit in there. By the way, a lot of my key items fit perfectly in this bag. My larger mushroom boys, a forest guardian, any of the kind of medium to somewhat large size stuff fits in here perfectly. So this bag is going to be kind of the most versatile and used bag that I have. But I did want to look into smaller bags and larger bags. When it comes to smaller, they don't come much smaller than that in a reusable form. So the closest thing that I was able to find that was still going to be somewhat cohesive is these paper bags. So this is paper, fully recyclable. Again, something that if I bought something in, I would keep and regift. Maybe I'm just cheap, but that's what I would do. So I did go ahead and grab some of these. These are 3 inches by 5 inches by 8 inches. And Amazon sells these in a pack of 60 for $28.99, which is also about 48 cents per bag. Again, I bought this stuff on Amazon Prime Day, so I didn't quite pay that much. But just to give you an idea, again, under 50 cents. And then for my larger items, I ended up getting this Mama Jamma, which also has the same straps as the other one. The only bummer about this one is I can't find it with black straps, but you can't win them all. So I got this really large set of bags, and these are 5 by 12 by 11. So this will hold any of my larger dragons if someone buys multiple things, which would be awesome. But this is the exact same texture, exact same finish and everything as the medium bag, which I see being my most used bag. These do run a little more expensive. These come in a pack of 25 for $20.99. When I calculate the total amount of bags you would purchase if you bought, packs of each of these, and you divide that up by how much you would spend, it roughly comes out to about 55 cents per bag, which I was really happy with because I already knew, and I'm going to share a whole video about how I calculated pricing and everything like that, but I had already built into my pricing a certain dollar amount for packaging, and this was going to fit within that. So I was pretty happy with that. Now, the one thing that I was still trying to figure out was if I wanted to somehow do something to brand it. Originally, I thought about doing some kind of label or sticker. So this is just a packing label that I put in the Munbin printer, and I put Enchanted Skein on it and handcrafted crochet with a touch of magic, my web address. And I was thinking about maybe doing something where I stick this, to the front of the bag. But the thing about that is that takes away from the reusability. I don't know how well this will peel off. I don't want to risk ruining one by trying. And I picture myself getting home from, purchasing something. Do I really want to sit there and pick a sticker off so that I can reuse the bag? And it just kind of kills the reusability. So what I'm thinking about doing, and I don't have an example of this yet, is I looked on Canva and Vistaprint, and you can get like little 2.5 by 2.5 squares printed. It's almost like a different style business card, essentially. It's a square instead of a rectangle. And I'm thinking about getting, this information kind of printed on one of those. I want to say I could get 100 or 250 of them for like $30 or something like that. I've got to go back and double check. I have not researched this yet, but I was thinking about doing something like that where I can just hang that from the handle. So it's almost like when you buy a gift bag and it has the to and from, dangly thing. So I'm thinking about doing that. Let me know if you guys have any thoughts or opinions in the comments, because I would love to get some feedback from somebody. But yeah, I'm thinking to forego the whole like something stuck to it avenue and just do something hanging so they could just cut it off when they get home and then they can use it however they see fit. I am looking into doing some kind of little freebie packet that's going to go inside the bags. I do have little care cards that are essentially business cards because that's the cheapest thing to get printed. Care cards that I'm going to put inside the bag. I'll show you those once I finalize everything, but I am going to get some of those so that I can put that in there so that they know, how to care for their plushie, eventually wearables if I sell those, and has kind of my contact information and things like that on there. I was debating whether or not I want to do some kind of little envelope of freebie stuff. Again, give me your opinion in the comments because I'm really torn on that too. Like, I'm not going to make them pay for that because then it's not a freebie. But I was thinking a couple of stickers and the care card and like a QR printout or something, in a nice little envelope and stick it in each package. I don't know. I don't want to waste a ton of money. And I'm somebody who I don't really want the stickers. So when I get home, I don't really use the stickers. But I'm not necessarily like everybody else. And it seems like a lot of people send their packages with stickers and people love it. So I don't know if it's just me. So please let me know what your thoughts are. But I am thinking about doing a little something like that. Other than that, that's my packaging. I'm not going to put tissue paper in or anything like that. I don't think it's necessary. And one of my fears is that the tissue paper has a color to it and that dye rubs off on a plushie or something like that. So I'm not going down that route, but that's essentially going to be my packaging for the market. All right, let's get into this week's makes. So I mentioned before it was Creep Week, which was Plague Doctors and Five Nights at Freddy's characters. So let's start with Plague Doctors. This little guy here is a pattern by Dee Dee's Plushies, and this week was challenging for me. I had that I wanted to make 3 of these guys on my list. I ended up only making 1. This pattern was more complex than I thought it was going to be, and I probably should have seen that now that I think about it. Nothing against the pattern. The pattern is well written, it's easy to follow, and all that good stuff. But, and one of the things I want to start doing better on these videos is telling you what I used and how I did things, because I've watched other people's videos where they do that, and I feel like it's helpful. So this is all Bernat blanket. I think the white is baby blanket. But one of the things that's challenging about this is all of these parts. So you have his hat, which does come off. In these kind of scenarios, you have nowhere to hide your ends. So you really have to weave things in. So that was, time consuming. It was fine, but it was time consuming. I love the hat. I think the hat is adorable. And the way this whole thing starts is you make his head and you make essentially this beak and sew that on. And I was going to batch make these, but when I made the first head, I was like, this head is huge. And when I had just his head in my hand, I was thinking like he was going to be massive and I did not want 3 more massive plushies. So I was like, let me finish one first and then make the decision. So you sew his head, or you create his head, you sew on the beak, and then you work into his body. And his body is done in a really interesting way. I'm not going to share how that is because obviously that's inside of her paid pattern. And then you make his little hood here, and his hood comes off as well. So you can just kind of do that, and you can put his hat on without his hood, however you want to do it. But I did not anticipate how much sewing this was going to be because of all of this. So, you sew the beak on, you sew the base of the hood on so that it is attached to him. Obviously, you've got to sew the arms on, and then you make his stethoscope and sew that on. In the pattern, the stethoscope is made with a smaller weight yarn. I didn't really have anything handy for that, and I was just like, by the time I got to that, I was like, I'm just doing this out of blanket yarn and being done with it because I was kind of over him. No offense to the pattern. I was just having the hardest time for some reason. And I don't know if it's the stress or if it's just the very intense crocheting that I've been doing for the last several weeks, but my hands were cramping up and I was having a hard time. So I ended up only making one of these. I did not enjoy the process of making this guy. So I did not want to repeat that process, but I am pretty happy with him and we'll see how he sells. He might have been better served in like a parfait chunky, but also then it comes down to like, at least at this size, I feel like I can get some value out of it. If he was parfait chunky, he'd be a lot smaller and I don't know that I could get as much out of it. And he does take a lot of time. I didn't time myself, but it took a long time because of all of the extra sewing and all of the bits. So this is our Plague Doctor. He will go to market and we'll see how he does. Next up was the Five Nights at Freddy's characters. And this is a pattern called Bow Tie Duo by Darby's Crochet Creations. And this pattern, I knew that I wanted to make 2 of each. I wanted to make 2 of the Freddy Fazbear and 2 of the Bonnie Bunny. So when I sat down to make this, I did it all in a batch kind of fashion. What's cool about this pattern is everything but the ears and the color of the accessories is the same. So the head's the same, the body and legs, the arms, everything else is the same, the muzzle. The only thing that's different is the style of ears for the bear versus the bunny, and the fact that the bear has a hat and their bow ties are different colors. So that was super handy, and I knew that I could just kind of batch these guys out. I did use Parfait Chunky for these, and let me show you how Freddy Fazbear came out. And I have a love-hate relationship with this pattern. Let me show you Bonnie. So here's Bonnie. And they're pretty cute together. And the reason that I have a love-hate relationship with this pattern is I had an absolute blast crocheting all of the parts. I got in a groove and I was going. I did stop after I started with the heads, and I did stop because when I saw the size of this head, it just didn't seem right to me. And I thought maybe I did something wrong. I went back and counted stitches. I counted rows. I did the next head and made sure I paid close attention to the pattern. It came out the exact same size. I feel like I wanted his head to be bigger. I wanted their heads to be a little bit more disproportionate to the bodies to feel more like those animatronics. So I was a little disappointed in that. And I feel like the pictures depicted that, but I think it's just angles and me seeing what I wanted to see more than anything. But I really enjoyed making all the bits and bobs. I don't know if by the late point of the week and work stress was getting to me or what, but when it came time to sit down and sew these things together, that's where the hate part came into the love-hate relationship with this pattern. So, the body itself starts in the typical make a leg, make the second leg, you crochet this leg into it and continue up, which was really nice. You've got the head. But then you've got to sew on this belly patch. You've got to sew the muzzle to the head. You've got to do the embroidery detail on this guy for the eyes and the little crease in the muzzle here. You've got the bow ties, which is, basically into chains, crocheting into chains. You've got his little hat to do, and, the ears. And then on the Bonnie, there's color changes for the ears, and you're working into a fairly small space. So I don't know if I was just, like I said, I might have just been grumpy, and now that I'm saying it out loud, I feel kind of mean. But I have a love-hate relationship with this pattern because I really did enjoy making the pieces. And maybe if I'd have done it in a fashion of made an entire plushie, I would have been fine. It's the fact that I was kind of batching, and then what I had left was just this slew of body parts, and I needed to put them all together and sew. So I think that's probably what it was. I'm feeling better about it now. Thank you for letting me work through that. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. So this is set number 1, which is adorable. And then, not surprisingly, set number 2 looks just like set number 1, but I did make 2 of each, so I was pretty pleased with that. When it comes to this week's makes, there were 4 categories left on the wheel, and I am not going to spin the wheel to determine what I'm crocheting this coming week. I'm feeling a little bit of burnout and stress, and I'm just going to look at my list of things that I have slated to make, and I'm going to pick stuff that I want to make and then I'm going to make that. If I get myself stuck in analysis paralysis, then I will turn to the wheel. But I think I just need to give myself a break in the sense of not having the pressure of a specific number of plushies, a specific, list of things that I need to have done this week. It's probably not the best idea since I only have 6 weeks left to the market, but I feel like I just kind of need that mental break. And even if that comes to crocheting less because I need a little bit of a break for my hands, I will do that as well because again, I have been, feeling it this week. There is plenty of stuff that I need to do to prepare for the market that is not crochet related. So I still don't know exactly what I'm doing for tagging everything. I know what I want to do in my head. I need to actually try it and test it out and execute it. I need to figure out how I'm going to prepare and pack. I need to kind of schedule out any other tasks I have. I have to practice and get my inventory in Square, see what it's like to do a transaction. I've never done that. I need to decide if I'm going to be taking some sort of mobile payment like a Venmo or Zelle, then, I need to figure out how all that works, what the cost is for all of that and things like that. So there is plenty to do if I do not get as much crochet done as I would hope to. But these are all things that still need to be done. Speaking of that, I just received my email confirmation. I had gotten the email, I think I told you guys, that said jump in and pay for your spot and do all the paperwork. And I got it late because it was in my junk mail. So I sent them an apology. I did process all of that stuff. There is an area of this event called Spooky Corner. I think it's called Spooky Corner. But it's got all of the kind of Halloween themed stuff in it. I really wanted to be with those guys, but I didn't feel like I had enough quantity of items that are Halloween related. But it just so happens, and I'll put a picture up here of kind of the seating chart, if you will, or the booth chart, that there are booths just touching those that kind of end the section. And I thought that was perfect. So in the application process, you can put in if you have a preferred booth number or 2 or 3 of them, so that like if the first one you look for is not available or they need to move you because maybe there's someone who's been there, 100 times and has the same kind of product you do, however they do what they do. I went ahead and I picked booth number 103. I don't know, well, I do know what stood out about it. I liked the number, it called to me, but also it is a corner that is just outside of the spooky corner. So it's touching it, it's adjacent, and it also ends there. So it's not like it's just the whole section changed. It's just literally the couple of booths that are right on the tail end there. And it's as close to spooky corner as I could get without actually being in spooky corner. So it would seem that I did get that booth, at least for now, because I got the email back saying, we have your preferred booth of 103. That's a corner, pay the upgrade fee. So I went online and paid the upgrade fee, and I just got the confirmation email and all of the information about how setup's going to work and where you park and all that good stuff. So it just kind of brought everything home and made it real and just got me even more excited. I decided that I'm taking Thursday and Friday and Monday off of work. So Thursday and Friday, I will take off of work to do anything I need to do to prepare for the market and to just not stress myself out over it. And Friday, we can actually go there and set up. So I'll probably do that as far as at least setting up the structure of everything, tablecloths and all that good stuff. And then I have the market Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 4, I want to say it is. And then I took Monday off to just crash and hopefully record a market recap. So that's the plan. I think that is all I have for you today. I am going to do another one of these videos next week where I share some information about the market itself and preparation and what I'm doing. And then I will show you whatever I do get done next week when it comes to crochet. So I thank you so much for watching. If you have not already subscribed, please do consider subscribing. I appreciate all of you. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.